Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskid. I'm the author of this book, Playing Solo Jazz Piano. Here's a real copy, just in case you did not believe that this one over here is real. And today I want to talk with you about three of my favorite licks to play, as well as three of my favorite licks to teach, because they give important lessons about fingering on the piano. I've got three great licks for you. Before I do, a couple of quick announcements. I've already said in videos I have this very affordable jazz class that I am able to offer through my community college. If you're interested in taking a more kind of in-depth approach, getting my feedback, there's 32 total classes over 16 weeks. And you can check out more. I'll be sharing a frequently asked questions page at the bottom of this YouTube link. The bottom of this, in the comment section of the YouTube video, right? And then also I've added a link where you can schedule a lesson with me if you're interested in having me give you some feedback. So let's go to these licks. The first one is just very nice little 2-5-1 lick. And just to orient you, I've given the lick in the key of C in black ink, and then in the key of B flat in blue ink here, because the fingering implications are going to be a little bit different. Now, the reason why I think this lick is very interesting is that a lot of pianist instincts is to go through their fingers in order. So if you look at the keyboard view right here, what a lot of pianists do is they'll start with their thumb. That makes a lot of sense. The thumb is, the first finger on the hand. And they'll do this, but that's a very uncomfortable hand position to be in. Possible, but I think a much better fingering is instead to tuck your thumb under and start with your second finger crossed over like so. See that? That way I'm able to play much more accurately and probably more quickly as well, and I'm much more comfortable in this hand position. Rather than I can feel my hand hurting as I try to do that. So if I were going to write in the fingering here, it would be 2-1. That's really the important thing. And then a little fingering issue comes up at the end of the lick too. I call this a turn. And I would finger it 3-4-3-2-1. Again, tucking that thumb underneath. I'll do it in a slow motion. You might know from C.P.E. Bach, like the first rule of piano fingering is put short fingers on long keys and long fingers on short keys, right? This is given an example of like the perfect fingering, where your short fingers, your thumb and your pinky, are on white keys, and your long fingers, 2, 3, and 4, are on black keys. And that's why, even though I could go more in order, it's actually fits the shape of the hand more to put my second finger on the black key and my thumb on the white key. Now, if we go to the blue lick here, we can't use that exact fingering because the E flat there is a black key. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go 2-3 and then tuck the thumb under. So this avoids us having to put our thumb onto the E flat. We will use 2 and 3 for those two notes. And for the end of this lick, I'll use the same thing. I'll put 2-1 because we still have a black key leading to a white key. Great, so that's lick number 1. Lick number 2 is one of my favorites, and I used to teach this my very first lick that I give students, and then I realized the fingering is actually difficult. So let me play it for you. Alright, seems innocent, and this was just so great because it's an arpeggio up, and arpeggio down, and arpeggio up again. But the tricky part is that at the tops and the bottoms, what a lot of students will do is they'll use their same finger twice in a row. And that's one of the no-nos of piano fingering, right? We're really never, I shouldn't say never, we're almost never supposed to use the same finger twice in a row, unless you're kind of using it as a special effect. Because that makes playing legato really hard. And it's also just hard to go fast using the same finger twice in a row. That's why we use multiple fingers, right? Is because it's easier. So what I recommend for this lick instead, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 5. Pretty simple, straightforward for that arpeggio going up. Let me erase that so you can see the fingering. And then 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's a nice connection between the 5 and the 4 here. And then crossing over to 2. And now here's the key that most people miss, is that I'm going to cross that thumb further under so it plays the G. So 2, 1, 3, 5, 2. 3, 5, 2. And by doing that, we avoid having to use the same finger twice in a row. I once heard the saxophonist Eric Alexander say that learning to be a great jazz improviser is just a complex exercise in transposition, meaning that all you had to do was know a lot of licks in a lot of keys. I don't know if that's quite true, that's a little bit joyless to me, but you can get really far as an improviser just knowing licks really well in different keys. And with that in mind, let's look at this next key. So we have to use a different fingering here because we're starting on a black key. And it's going to be very awkward to start with 1 on the black key. So instead I'm going to start with 2. And I'm going to go 2, 1, 3, 5. Hope you're all doing this with me at home. 2, 1, 3, 5. 4, 1. Because there's only one white key here, so I've got to put my thumb on that white key. And then it actually sets us up beautifully for the end of that. So notice that the thumb now is like hanging out in the middle of the hand. It's kind of weird, right? My thumb is under the other fingers. And that's totally okay. That's pretty normal. And this is a great opportunity to get used to that feeling. I'll show it to you one more time in slow motion. 2, 1, 3, 5, 4, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 5, 2. In case you're wondering. 3, 1, 2, 3, 5. I think I misspoke. My apologies. 1, 2, 3, 5, 2. All right. And then this lovely lick. What's happening with this lick is that I'm basically taking the 1, 3, 5 of a C major chord and ornamenting it. So you can see I've circled C, E, G, C, E, G, C. And the lick goes like this. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing an upper neighbor, playing the main note, a lower neighbor, playing the main note, upper neighbor, main note, lower neighbor, main note, etc. In jazz and in a lot of music, upper neighbors tend to be diatonic, notes from the scale, whereas lower neighbors tend to be chromatic, just literally a half step below. And that's what's happening here, is that when I have neighbor tones for this first C natural, I'm using D, which is in the scale, and I'm using B, which is a half step below. Of course, B also happens to be in the major scale, but that's just a coincidence. And then for the next one, I'm using F, which is in the major scale, and then D sharp, which is just a half step below. The next one, I'm using A above G, which is in the major scale, and then F sharp, which is just a half step below. Now, I'll do it slower for you. So what I would do here is actually, it's simple to remember, slightly difficult to execute. It's tempting to just kind of have a normal hand position and rock up the key, but it's very awkward. So what I do is 4, 3, 2, 1 repeated. 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. So watch. Again, it's all about the thumb going underneath the hand. And kind of just being very comfortable living underneath the hand. Notice my thumb moves very far in advance. It's not staying over here and then kind of springing there. So try that if you're at your piano. And now here's where it gets a little bit dicey, is if we do the same thing in the key of B flat major. I would finger it a little bit differently. To avoid putting my thumb on the black keys, I would probably start 4, 3, and then go 1, 2. So 4, 3, 1, 2, and then the other ones can go 4, 3, 2, 1. Or, and I'm going to very much invite you to break some of these rules, and you could also go 4, 3, 2, 1, and end up with your thumb on that black key, which breaks CPE Bach's rule. But what does CPE Bach know about jazz? He didn't know anything about jazz. Listen to how this lick sounds with the 2, 5, 1. I love it. And it's an easy one to just rattle off really, really fast. So there you go. There's your 3 licks. Let's just review them real quick. And each one teaches you a little fingering lesson. This one teaches you to not always start with your thumb, but sometimes put your thumb beneath the rest of your hand. The next lick teaches you about not repeating a note and finding creative ways. Not repeating a finger twice in a row and finding creative ways to get around that. And this last one also teaches you about preparation and not necessarily putting your thumb on the extremes of your hand. I hope you enjoyed that. Check out all the links in the comments, and buy my book from my website, www.jeremysiskin.com. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you around next time.